Good morning, 7th grade. This is Monday. I hope you had a restful weekend. We had a beautiful weekend, nice weather. This is the third week of doing school for me in an empty classroom. Nobody answering my questions, nobody talking to me. I don't have to tell anybody to sit up. I don't have to tell anybody to listen, to pay attention. Nobody's answering my questions. It's a little bit boring, but you know what? It's okay, and we'll keep on plugging along. Hope you're enjoying being at home there with your mom. You're making memories for sure. I don't think any of us have ever done school like this before, and so the year 2020 is remarkable. Anyway, we have a math lesson to do. We have a math test this week that we need to get ready for. So let's try to keep up with our corrections. We're going to work at that the next 2 days and try and get ourselves ready to take a test. This is probably one of the first times that you're going to be taking a test by yourself at home. And I'm not going to be looking over your shoulder and making sure that you're understanding everything. So it's going to be a little different. I want to make sure that you guys are understanding everything and how to do things. All right, so lesson 14, page 59. You guys have a map. And the 6th graders just had this last week, and it's a little hard to explain maps doing school virtually like this, but we're going to do our best. It says on the map, 1 centimeter represents 100 kilometers. All right, so on our map, when we measure centimeters, it represents 100 kilometers, okay? And it says you can use proportions with the ratio 1 centimeter to 100 kilometers. So they tell you to set it up like this. In a proportion. All right. Lay your ruler on the map and measure the distance between the two cities. So they say measure from Dawson Creek to Edmonton. I'm just going to kind of hold up my paper here. Dawson Creek is right here, Edmonton is right here, and they want you to take your ruler and just lay it like this across the corner. Yeah, this is not very easy to do. So, going across corner from Dawson Creek to Edmonton shows that it is 5 centimeters. All right, so we have our formula. 1 centimeter is 500 kilometers. If we have 5 centimeters, how many kilometers? You would go 5 times 100 divided by 1, which we know is 500 kilometers. All right, so let's do some for ourselves on the map. Our first problem says, measure to the nearest half centimeter. So sometimes when you measure, it's probably going to be maybe in between 3 and 1/2. Go to the closest half. If it's closer to 3, use 3. If it's closer to 1/2, use 3 1/2. That's what they're telling you. So measure from Edmonton to Calgary. Take your ruler and do your measuring. I'm going to measure also here. Do your ruler and measure. You should have come to 3. Did you find 3 centimeters? So if we have 3 centimeters, we put it here. Again, you multiply 3 times 100 divided by 1 is 300 kilometers. That's your answer for number 1. All right. Number 2 says Alberta is about how many kilometers from north to south? Okay, so you're going to go all the way up to the top and start at the dotted line up by Alberta up in the north, where the dotted line is kind of slanted. Put your ruler there and measure all the way down to the first dark line you come to. You can see that your map is in a dark box, okay? Don't use those lines. Go just inside that on the dotted line, and the first dark line you come to, north to south, you should have measured 12 centimeters. Again, you put it over, and you go 12 times 100 is 1200 divided by 1 is 1200 kilometers. All right, then they want you to measure from Medicine Hat to Lethbridge. Medicine Hat to Lethbridge. All right, your ruler, it should come out to be 1.5. 1.5 or 1.5. So again, you're going to be multiplying 100 times 1.5. And remember, I didn't tell you this before, but remember when you multiply times a 100, you don't need to go times 100. What do you do with your decimal point? When you multiply times 100, you have 2 zeros. You can move your decimal point 2 places to the right, and you have 150. I bet you guys all remembered that. All right, and from Dawson Creek to Calgary, it's kind of across the corner, but go ahead and measure across the corner. You should have come up to 6.5. 6.5. And that means your kilometers would be 650. 650. All right, so turn your page to page 60. It says on a road map of Arkansas, the scale is 1/2 inch equals 15 miles. All right, so we've got 1/2 inch is equal to 15 miles. All right, again, set up in a portion. It is 2.5 inches from Little Rock to Arkadelphia on the map. What is the actual distance? All right, this time we have 2.5 inches. And we actually need to know how many miles. Again, we go across the corner. So we're going 2.5 times 15 divided by 1/2. All right, put this into an improper fraction. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. We have 5 over 2 times 15 over 1. So we've got 75. 15 times 5 is 75 over 2. Now we are dividing by 1/2. What do you do when you divide with a fraction here? Remember, whenever you divide it with a number here, you invert it. So it's 75 over 2 times 2 over 1. Remember to invert that fraction. Cancel out. Your answer is 75. All right, that was their example. Let's see what they give us to do. Find the approximate distances in miles using the map scale. 1/2 inch equals 40 miles. Okay. So our 1/2 inch is 40. And from Harrison to Fort Smith is 2 inches. All right, so we have 2 inches. Now we need to figure out how many miles. Again, we go 2 times 40 divided by 1/2. 2 times 40 is, Casey, what's 2 times 40? 80. Yes. Divided by 1/2. Remember to flip. So it is actually, I was just looking at my figuring, making sure I was right here. But I am. I needed to flip this, so it's 80 times 2, 160 miles. That's our answer for number 5. Let's do one more. We have 1.5 inches up here. You guys love when they give us all these fractions, I bet, don't you? So we've got 1.5 times 40 divided by 1/2. Make this into an improper fraction. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3 over 2, times 40 over 1. You can cancel out. 2 goes into 40, 20 times. 20 times 3. Seth, what's 20 times 3? He says it's 60. Good job. Times 2 over 1. Remember, we're inverting that. 60 times 2 is 120 miles. Hope you guys understood that. And it went well. It's just not as easy talking about maps and measuring. But we did it. All right, I hope you guys understood the Celsius and Fahrenheit formulas. I didn't hear any questions. But just remember, like on number 7, they give us the Celsius. So use the formula where you need to put in Celsius. In other words, you're finding Fahrenheit. So use the Fahrenheit equals 9/5 Celsius plus 32. And they've got the formula there in front of you. But now you have 40 that you're going to put right there. Okay? Just make sure you use the correct formula. Remember 9, A and B, you're changing to standard form. You're using scientific notation. You're moving your decimal point. Remember, when it's negative, you move to the left. When it's positive, you move it to the right. Problem 27 says Jack is teaching his music students about the values of notes and rests and also about the number of beats in a measure. Add the following fractional values of notes in a measure they are working with. They tell you what to do. You're supposed to add those fractions together. You're going to need to find common denominator and then add them together. Okay, on problems 31 to 32, you're going to go back to that map of Alberta, and they want you to use the scale of 1 inch equals 150 miles, and you're supposed to measure to the nearest inch, okay? Don't use centimeters, use your inches, and measure from Dawson Creek to Edmonton. I'll do the first one there, but use your inches. Your first one should have come up is 2. So make sure you do that correctly. Other than that, hope you have a great day. Enjoy it. Do your math lesson. Get your work done. Then you can read a book or go outside. See ya.